In this video, we will be going over the detect mouse movement functions I wrote as part of my Powershell for Hackers repository I put together on GitHub. The link for this repository will be in the description below. Detecting the mouse movement of your target could be advantageous for multiple situations. On one hand, you could use it to determine when the target has returned to their PC. On the other hand, you could also use it to determine if they've been away from their PC for a set amount of time. Now, before we get into the implementation of this function, I'm going to break it down line by line to show you what is actually going on. Having at least a basic understanding of the theory is what will make the difference between calling yourself a hacker as opposed to just being another script kiddie. If you're wanting to garner any level of respect in this community, this step is essential. Just copying and pasting my functions alone won't do it. And when you get to the point where you really want to customize your own scripts, you'll be unable to. Don't be a script kiddie. Learn from this. So you can fully grasp what is happening in these two functions, I'm going to start by breaking down the fundamentals of what is taking place. This concept is the backbone of both of these functions. In this first line, we have the add type assembly name system windows forms. The system windows forms is a UI framework that contains classes for creating Windows-based apps. This will essentially allow us to mimic the functionality of your PC in the Powershell console. Next, we have the original position variable being used to store the X coordinate of your cursor. And finally, we will just use the right host to display that coordinate in the Powershell console. Let's go ahead and see this in action. First, we're going to take this snippet of code and paste it into the Powershell window. Now, I want you to notice the position of my cursor when I run this code. As you see right here, we were given the X coordinate of the current position of my cursor. Now I'm going to move my cursor to the other side of the Powershell window and run it again. Notice that we have a different value being displayed. Detecting a change in that X coordinate is fundamentally how both of these functions I have for you operate. Function 1. Target comes. So let's take a look at the first function, target comes. This function is useful if you want to run a script as soon as your target returns to their computer. You should already be familiar with the system windows forms, as well as the original position variable that stores the X coordinate of the cursor's current position. In this next line, inside the O variable, we are going to create an object, then specify the correct parameter to use the WScript shell class. We will use this later to programmatically press buttons on our keyboard. Using a while loop, we'll keep cycling through this code till certain conditions are met. The pause time variable will determine how many seconds we wait before checking the position of the mouse again. Now, using an if statement, we will check the current position of the target's cursor. If it does not equal the original position, aka a mouse movement, was detected, we will break out of our loop and execute the next segment of code. Else, otherwise, if the cursor is still in the same position, we'll use the O variable to call send keys and press the caps lock button. This serves two functions. One, it will stop their screen from sleeping, and two, the caps lock light will blink every indicated number of seconds. The start sleep command is what calls for the pause in between each iteration of this loop. Let's take a look at an example of the script in action. So right here we have a simple PowerShell script as an example. First we define the target comes function. Now we will simply call that function. After a mouse movement is detected, Notepad will open up. Now let's copy and paste this into a PowerShell window and run it. You'll notice my caps lock light is blinking on and off. Now when a mouse movement is detected, we will break from that loop and Notepad will open up. That was a really simple example just to demonstrate how it works. Now I'm going to show you a payload I wrote using that function to show you some practical application. Be warned though, this is a jump scare prank. So using the run box, I will download and execute my jump scare payload. Don't worry about how this part works now. Just know that I have an invoke web request tutorial in the description if you'd like to learn how. So let's run it. Notice my caps lock light is blinking again, so you know the script is waiting. Now watch me move my mouse. Utilizing this function for pranks is absolutely wonderful. Function 2, target leaves. For this second function, you will find a few things to be familiar, while also finding some new techniques being implemented. This time we'll be using a parameter to have the option of dictating how many seconds you would like your target's cursor to be in the same position before continuing the script. You would use this function with the intention of running a payload while your target is indicating they are away from their desk. You guys should already be familiar with the system Windows forms. We will again be using a while loop to continuously iterate through this code until certain conditions are met. This time the original position variable is inside the loop because we need to check for the position of the target's cursor while they are actively moving it. Then we will have the function pause for the number of seconds that you determine. Now we use an if statement to determine if after the wait time the cursor is still in the same position. If it is, we will break out of the loop and continue to the next segment of code. If the cursor is still moving, the function will pause for 1 second, then restart from the beginning. So let's see this in action. First we define the target leaves function. Next we call the function and use a parameter to define how many seconds you want the target's cursor in the same position before continuing your script. Keep in mind this is the minimum time, and because it's on a loop, if the mouse stops moving 2 out of 5 seconds into a loop, it will finish those 3 seconds in that loop, then run for the next 5 seconds for a total of 8 seconds before breaking out of the loop. We're going to copy and paste this into the PowerShell window and run it. Notice my cursor is continuously moving around. Once my cursor stops, we'll have between 5 to 10 seconds before the script continues and Notepad opens up. Again, this function proves to be beneficial if you're trying to run a script while your target is away from their PC. I hope you were able to learn something with me here today. Please feel free to check out the rest of my functions in the PowerShell for Hackers repository. If it was helpful, leave a star. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this, consider subscribing. I am Jakoby. My crime is that of curiosity. And yeah, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back. Till next time.